Okay, let us start. Kayena vacha chittena pamadena maya katang achayang kamame bante buri panya tathagata kayena vacha chittena pamadena maya katang achayang kamame dhamma sanditika akalika kayena vacha chittena pamadena maya katang achayang kamame sangha supatipana anuttara sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Tisarana gamanang paripunang panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Adina dana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Abrahmacharya veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musavada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Sura meraya maja pamadatana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Vikala pojana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Nacha Gita Vadita Visuka Dasana Malaganda Vilepana Dharana Mandana Vibhusanatana Veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Uchasayana Mahasayana Veramani Sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Idang me silang Magapala Jnanasa Pachayo Hotu Appamadena Sampadeta Sad. All right, let's do some guided upeka before we start the talk. Now we sit here, relax the body, relax the mind. Any vipassana, nothing, we put it aside. Just keep the mind present here. Relax from the top of the head, slowly down the forehead, face, down the neck, shoulders, arms, chest area, stomach area, the spine to the back, to the buttocks, to the hips, down the thighs, the knees, calves, ankles, soles, and our toes. So relax the body. I am the owner of my own karma. I am the owner of my own karma. Karma is my closest relative. Karma is my closest relative. Whatever wholesome actions, speech, or thoughts that I've done in the past, then it will result, give rise to happiness in the present or in the future. And whatever unwholesome actions, speech, or thoughts that I've done in the past, then it will give rise to unhappy resultant in the present or in the future. I'm the owner of my own karma. I too subjected to the law of samsara, to aging, old age, death, and rebirth. I'm subjected to the law of this samsara. May I able to accept the truth, accept the reality without fear, without anxiety, but with understanding, with wisdom, and with calmness. Now let us expand. Let us expand the equanimity, reaching out to all the beings around here. May they be monks or nuns, fellow yogis, Dharma workers, helpers, volunteers, to all the garden devas of the center, to all other devas residing around the neighborhood, and to all the petas, to all the animals, big, small, seen or unseen. And all of us here are owners of our own karma. All of us here are owners of our own karma. Whatever wholesome deeds we have done in the past, they will give rise to happiness in the present or future. Whatever unwholesome deeds we have done in the past, they will give rise to unhappiness in the present or future. We are the owners of our own karma. Karma is our closest relative. We are subjected to the law of cycle of birth and rebirth, to this samsara. We go through illness, aging, sickness, death, and rebirth. We are subjected to this cycle of samsara. We all are the owners of our own karma. May I be able to accept the truth, accept the reality without fear, without anxiety, without bias, but with understanding and wisdom. Now let us expand, let us expand equanimity, reaching out to all beings in this country, humans or non-humans, devas or petas, animals big, small, far or near, seen or unseen. All beings in this country, they are subjected to their own karma. Karma is their closest relative. Whatever wholesome deeds they have done in the past, they will give rise to happiness in the present or future. And whatever unwholesome deeds they have done in the past, then it will give rise to unhappiness, result in the present or in the future. Beings in this country are subjected to this law, cycle of birth and rebirth. They go through aging, illness, death, and rebirth. May I be able to accept the reality, accept the truth, without fear, without anxiety, without bias, but with understanding and wisdom and calmness. Now let us expand the equanimity to all beings in this world, humans or non-humans, whether they are loved ones near or far away. Now those whom we do not know wherever they are, and to those whom we dislike or those who dislike us. To all the guardian devas of the Buddha Sasana, to all other devas residing in this world, to 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 all the petas, to all the animals, big or small, far or near, seen or unseen. All beings in this world, they are subjected to the law of karma. Karma is their closest relative. Whatever wholesome deeds they have done in the past, they will give rise to happiness in the present or in the future. Whatever unwholesome deeds they have done in the past, then it will give rise to unhappiness in the present or in the future. They too are subjected to the law of cycle of birth and rebirth, subjected to samsara. They go through aging, sickness, death, and rebirth. May I be able to accept the truth, accept the reality without bias, without fear, without anxiety, but with wisdom, understanding, and calmness. Now let us expand equanimity to all beings without exception, without condition, All beings, whether in this universe or other universes, from the highest plane of existence down to the lowest plane of existence, and all the beings in all the world systems. All beings without exception. They are the owners of their own karma. Karma is their closest relative. Whatever wholesome deeds they have done in the past will give rise to happy resultant in the present or future. Whatever unwholesome deeds they have done in the past then it will give rise to unhappy resultant in the present or in the future. All beings are subjected to the law of samsara. They go through aging or sickness, death and rebirth. They are able to accept the truth, accept reality without fear, without anxiety, without bias, but with understanding, with wisdom, and with calmness. We are able to accept the truth without fear, without anxiety, but with wisdom, understanding, and calmness. Slowly we let go. We let go of the reflection. We bring the mind back to the present moment. Being right here, right now. Feel the rise and fall of the abdomen. And then we can slowly open our eyes. Right. Okay. So, for the past few talks, we have been looking into equanimity. And I said that equanimity has to be developed not only just in the retreat, but also in the everyday life out there. You know? Many situations that for us to exercise the equanimity so that the mind doesn't go into a lot of fear or sadness or anger or panic, which is one extreme. Then also we exercise the equanimity so that our mind doesn't go into excessive attachment on joy, on desirable objects. Then the mind comes, when the mind able to balance, in the sense that even in the everyday life our mind don't fluctuate so much, then it's a kind of happiness. There's a kind of happiness that comes with understanding, come with wisdom, come with proper reflection. come with wise consideration, yoniso manasikara, yeah, which is good in that sense. Now there are people also, they are out there, even in Buddhist or non-Buddhist, their mind is quite stable. Yeah? They don't go in panic in that sense. One of the things is that maybe they are trained in many things in their life, so that the mind doesn't go into a lot of panic mode and so on. The mind is more stable. But the thing is that when it comes to mental development, the biasness of the mind, or the excessiveness or deficiency of the mind, it's much more narrow, in the sense that, for example, like you are meditating here. Meditate, sometimes the mind is clear for 15 minutes. After that, the mind goes into sleepiness, goes into thinking, goes into over concentration, goes into over effort. The mind fluctuates throughout the whole sitting, throughout the whole day, throughout the whole walking. Yeah? So not so easy for the mind to keep it in the balance. Yeah. But it comes with deeper development of vipassana. Yeah. The more that you can able to balance the mind, you can able to maintain the noting, then the progress will take place. So tonight we are going to look into the equanimity within the vipassana process. Yeah. Because we can talk about outside. I mean, of course, we've been talking about it, not yesterday, but the day before. Was it the day before? No, last week. We've been talking about it here and there. In the six-factored equanimity, at least on our senses, we try to balance them when we are in the retreat. But the development itself, the development of this vipassana itself, as you go further into the development, naturally the equanimity becomes stronger, clearer. Although it may not be so prominent aspect of the noting or of the object, but your mind is so much more able to meditate, much more clearer. Yeah? Each. All right. Hold on, everybody online. Hold on. I don't know whether y'all bring your spec or not. Whether y'all can see the thing or not. Okay. Give me one. All right. Now, what you are seeing over here in the paper that I give you all, or those online on the screen, you see one side on the purification, and the other side of the column is the practice. In the purification part here, So here we have purification of virtue, purification of mind, purification of view, purification by overcoming doubt, by knowledge and vision of the path and not path, and by knowledge and vision of the way. And number 7, by knowledge and vision, which is Nibbana. Yeah? Now here, the purification over here, this is mentioned by the Buddha. Yeah? Or not really by the Buddha actually, by Sariputta. And it's a discussion between two monks, which is Sariputta and what's the name? I forgot the name. Punya Mantaniputta. Yes, I think so. So this is found in Majjhima Nikaya number 24. Yeah. But on the practice side, then when we look into the practice, it go correspondence to the purification. Practice here, it means that this one, it's a lot of that is derived from commentaries. Okay, the commentaries and the purification, they go, and then the suttas go hand in hand. Sometimes there are people who don't agree with this 16 insight knowledge. All this is all made up by people. But, well, if they say that, then we all know that they are not really know how, they do not know what is practice and so on, But the thing is that in the commentary, they try to explain what insight correspond to what type of purification. Okay, corresponding to what type of purification. The first one of virtue. Virtue also is a very big area that we are not touching on it that much yet. Purification of mind here is connected with access and absorption concentration, which we touch upon it in the samatha, part of samatha. Access and absorption concentration here, it's connected with samatha. But here, we are not going into absorption, but we are straight going into kanika, which kanika samadhi also is equivalent to access concentration. But the actual vipassana starts. It starts with this purification of view, which is the knowledge of discerning of mind and matter. Purification of view here, they call it purification of view because sometimes when you say purification of view, then if nobody explained to you, what is it? What view are you being purified? So here in the actual vipassana that we are noting, then the purification of view, that means that you can able to discern what is mind and what is matter. I mean, this is not thinking, this is direct observation. That what you are doing right now is a direct observation. And then with this direct observation, that the more that you're able to practice, you begin to able to segregate or begin to differentiate or discerning mental qualities and the physical qualities, a physical process and the mental process. And they are two very separate nature. Because of that, now it looks simple, but actually because of that, the view here and what is being purified here is that you only see these two phenomena only. All group under mind, group under matter or body. And only these two only. There's no third entity like a soul or like external being or whatever it is. You only see these two. Sometimes some of us may have the view of, like, say, for example, a soul, like there is a, there's a something permanent inside us, or there's a external consciousness and so on. Yeah? Because of that, the mind, because of that, I mean, in the everyday life, we believe that there is something there. Yeah? Whatever our wholesome actions or unwholesome action is being dictated, fated by the Almighty or by the God or whatever they are. Yeah? Sometimes, like if you do any unwholesome deeds, then if you believe and they can absolve all your unwholesome actions, all your sins, erase it out, clean, then you can able to enter in the whatever heaven they have. Yeah? So that is the belief. Yeah? But the thing is that when you develop vipassana, the more the mind can able to note all these type of things, the mind is so much more concentrated, much more clearer than when you are everyday life. So when you're in everyday life, you believe something, but when you come into vipassana and you can able to develop it, then because of that concentration and clarity, you can only see these two processes only. You don't see the third entity or the fourth entity or the fifth entity. You only see these two entities only of matter and mind. So this time, for some people with this type of um, belief, and yet, let's say somehow they can able to develop the vipassana, then this time it will be a shock to them. It'll be a really shock to them because when the mind is concentrated, they're supposed to see what is there, but they cannot see that. They cannot see those type of things. So it's a shock to them. But for us, for Buddhists, actually, it's not too shock for us because perhaps a lot of us, we don't don't really believe in the soul, don't really believe in the uh, uh, Almighty. We know that our actions is belong to our oneself, that our wholesome or unwholesome action is dictated by ourselves. So because of that, we don't carry that type of view in us so much. Although it is not eradicated yet, but it doesn't come up that strongly. So with that, when it comes into the development of vipassana, then this type of, as you pass through in the vipassana, you don't feel a different one. So after that, you ask, Bhante, how am I going to know that I'm progressing or not? Like in the Saturday's question, whether we are progressing or not. Because a lot of things you already given up already in many parts of your life. Yeah? And because of that, and when come into the development, then we already can able to, in a way, we can able to notice these type of things already quite clearly already. So purification is already happening at that moment of time. Yeah. Now, so within this type of purification, as I said, even with all this 16 insight knowledge, then all this part that you're going to go through, all these things that you're going to go through, you need the mind to be really in balance on it. There's no such thing as if your mind is in the excessive or in the deficient, then this type of knowledge will not come up. Yeah. But in the beginning part, especially in the first one, second one, first knowledge and second knowledge, where there's discerning of mind and matter and discerning of conditions, you don't see the balance yet, but you see optimum mind that able to note an object. You see, you know that your mind can able to notice this object quite clearly. But in the meantime, it is not a smooth journey. it's going to be a lot of like thinking coming in, sleepiness coming in, the mind is running here and there, agitation, anger will be coming in. And yet you can still able to develop when these things you are free from it. Yeah. So when you ask about whether how you're going to discern the practice, sometimes it's all covered up by that. That's why in the last week I said the development sometimes, although you are developing, but you are experience a lot of pain, a lot of sleepiness, or a lot of like uh, thinking and so on. So this type of hindrances to you is that because you see all these things a lot, then you, although you see something in the actual development, you don't see that that is a significant development. It's a significant part of the development. So sometimes a yogi get caught into these type of things. So, but it's still okay. It's still okay. Their understanding of development is not so clear, but does not matter. There's still mong cha cha there inside there, whether they are still progress or don't progress, doesn't matter. As long as you keep come back to retreat and keep noting, then you will progress on. Yeah. So you see, at the first knowledge and second knowledge, this time the unpleasant feelings is going to be a lot. The unpleasant feeling is going to be a lot. It will come in. It will come in ways that you notice the pain. The pain can be quite strong. When the pain is strong, you meditate and you meditate on the pain or on the unpleasant feelings. Then for a period of time, until you tak boleh tahan, then your mind gets fluctuate into thinking and into anger and into this one. But the thing is that the beginning part of noting the pain, that time, the pain, you may think of it as perhaps it's not so painful yet, still manageable. Yes, it is manageable because at that time, your mind is its optimum level. The mind is neither too much or too little. That you can able to see the pain like that, pulling, the pain in one spot, the pain is running here and there, the pain is poking inside there, twisting inside there, whatever that's going on. That time, the mind is in the optimum level that you can able to notice these type of things. Then after that, when the energy, especially when it's not enough already, and then after that, ayo bei liao, then you know the story already, your own story already. You know that part, you know that one. I also talk about those things already, but this part here is the beginning part. This is where you actually progress. You actually progress here, and this time, the optimum level that you can able to notice this type of pain. Actually, by the more that you're able to notice it, how it changes and so on, and sometimes you do not know what is going on, but you know that it's going on. You do not know what is going on in the sense that you do not know theoretically what is going on. But noting wise, you actually are very clear. Then you are very clear in that. So when this happen, when all these things happen, then you're on the way of progressing. And that means that the mind, especially when it deals with this type of unpleasant feelings, especially it deals with this unpleasant feeling, the stability of the mind is being exercised. That means you can really tahan, you can really withstand the pain as it grows. You ask yourself that once upon a time, maybe 20, 30 years ago, you try to meditate at pain and see, you cannot tahan. You cannot take it. 5 minutes also, 1 minute also cannot really. But now it's a lot, it's a different. Because of that, your mind is being challenged. That strong feelings are just coming in and just challenge you, and you can keep the mind steady. And this is where the mind, doesn't go into deficient or doesn't go into excessive, and yet you can able to maintain everything and still not there. Even it just lasts you for that few minutes. Because in the pain, a few minutes is a long time. Few minutes is a very long time for some yogis. Uh, uh, then, of course, when it comes to excessiveness already of the pain, and then that time your anger and your thoughts, and then you're thinking about the time and all that thing, and those time it will start coming up. So that one, it's so important. Yeah. And with this, actually, learning to note this type of pain as you develop, when you go back, because of this type of training, then when you go back, because you train with unpleasant feelings, you train with unpleasant feelings, and your mind can able to accept and maintain and able to note that unpleasant feelings. So therefore, when you are out there, when you go back, then unpleasant situation arises. Death arises, panic type of arises. Sometime yesterday I was forgot to say something. Sometimes we are in the plane, suddenly smooth, and then suddenly the whole plane go into turbulence. Then a lot of people panic on it. That time you see how far your mind can able to stabilize. Unpleasant situation. That means unpleasant situation, unpleasant state of mind is there. So again here, anything that is unpleasant, the mind can able to withstand it, to have that resilient power. It can able to tahan, it can able to buffer before the mind goes into panic mode or go into fear, go into anxiety. Yeah. So that is actually our training in noting the pain. It's very helpful for our everyday life. So don't underestimate those things. Every day you complain, you come in to hear about your pain and pain and pain. Because you don't see the big picture yet. You see only everyday pain here, pain there, pain everywhere. You don't see the bigger picture yet. The bigger picture is actually not the everyday life thing, which is everyday life thing is a very good side effect, actually. The thing is that when we note this type of sensation of pain, because it's a strong object, that means what it will do to the mindfulness and the effort, it will feed back to them, and they too get stronger. They too get stronger. That means when they get stronger, it helps you in the coming or in the near development. It will help you in your further development because it's a very strong, prominent object. So it's good to have pain if you have it. So don't run away from pain. So this type of pain, it's part of the growth. Sometimes some people have less, sometimes some people have more. But if you have more, don't blame your karma. Don't blame your past karma that you have done a lot of bad deeds and so on. Don't blame them. It's just learn to, although we have done all the bad deeds, yes, but in the present state, this thing arises, then we use it as a as a practice, that as an object, so that the mind can grow better. So in the beginning of insight, a development of insight, a lot of equanimity is being involved, although they are not that prominent. So other words, you can able to stabilize with the pain. Even with that, also sometimes the thoughts also, not just only the pain, but thoughts also may just come in quite a lot. In the sense that when you notice phenomena of the mind, one of the biggest phenomena of the mind, what is it? You're thinking. Yeah, it's your thinking. Yeah, you sit down, every sitting, every walking, there's some thinking. Now the thing is that phenomena of these mental processes, it's that in the beginning of the practice, when our mindfulness is not strong enough, we tend to fall into the thoughts. And we fall into the thoughts, we fall into its story, and we been dragged into it. After that, when you are more skillful in noting the thoughts, then this time we don't fall into the thoughts, but we still bosong that the thoughts are still there. We're still unhappy that how come you're still around now? Although now you know that it's there. So it's actually a different already. But again, then the state of mind is still not able to accept that the thoughts are there. It wants a perfect clean sheet of noting without all these type of thoughts coming in. Because most of us we regard all these thoughts as disturbance. The moment the word, even you use the word disturbance, you already don't like it already. Kacau only. It's the way how our perception of it, of the thoughts, that although we are not falling into it, and yet we still don't like it. As a minor, until you can begin to accept it that it happens every sitting, it happens every walking, then the time when you are not fall into it, that when you're lifting, pushing, dropping, and so on, then this type of thoughts coming, you begin to accept them. That means this time, your mind is not being fluctuated into disliking. The mind is more towards in the middle, in the sense that you can able to note the sensation of lifting, pushing, dropping, and it just incorporate. If the thoughts arises, just being aware of them, because this time, as you're aware of them, the thoughts doesn't stay long. It comes in, you're aware of it, few times it's already gone. You walk, few times it's already gone. So with that, if you don't fight with it, you learn to be acceptance of it, then you see that the progress take place on it. But the thing is that sometimes we dislike it. We dislike that the thoughts are there. So the moment that we dislike it, it affects the whole noting mind already. It really kacau already. It means you disturb the equilibrium already. You disturb the whole equanimity already, in that sense. Because of our perception, how we regard this type of thoughts. So the moment that you can able to note this thing, you can able to put them, regard that as just a thought and just a part of mental process. As you can take it in, then you can note things much more better. You note your rising, falling, sitting, touching, thoughts come in, you're aware of it, it disappear, well and good. If you not, if it come in a bit longer, it become more prominent, and pay attention to it, don't fall into its story, then you can note its emotion states that are coming up. And a lot of times, even with the emotion states that's come up and so on, because of the mind is more able to note these type of things, the mind remembers, or the mind knows the thought, but the type of anger and desire or future fear or sadness doesn't come with it, because the mind is in stability, in a stable mode. Yeah. Doesn't mean, as I said many times in the past, a good noting doesn't mean it doesn't mean that there's no thinking. It's a matter of how you incorporate the thoughts without falling into its story. Then the time, and you regard them as just part of the whole meditation objects, a whole range of meditation objects. uh. So with that, your mind much more steady. And that during in the beginning part of our meditation retreat, no. Beginning part of the development of vipassana, then this type of things can be quite strong. Those things can be quite strong. I use the word development of vipassana rather than beginning of your retreat, because for some people, development of vipassana and and how many times they do retreat is very different from one yogi to another one. Some yogi have to take so many retreats, then only something there. Some yogis take within a retreat or two, wow, everything is quite clear already. Yeah? So it all depends. So the thing is that here in the beginning process, a lot of times objects are strong and it feels like thoughts, a lot of thinking, and also sometimes sleepiness and so on. So this time your mind fluctuates quite a lot. So therefore, you try to bring it as much as possible. You make that effort as best state, clear state, then the mind can able to progress. Yeah? Now, you take a look at number 3, the third insight. This third insight is called the knowledge of comprehension. What does it comprehend? There are 3 parts that it comprehend: anicca, dukkha, anatta. But it's not a deep anicca, dukkha, anatta yet. It's not deep yet. I mean, it's deeper than when you're out there, but not as deep as the later ones. Here, when it comes to knowledge of comprehension, although when we are teaching like that, we say, what does it comprehend? It comprehends anicca, dukkha, and anatta in their preliminary stage. Preliminary of anicca, dukkha, and anatta. Here, when we use the word comprehension in the way that we teaching like that, we systemize it. But actually, when you are meditating, it's all haphazard one. You do not know what you are noting one. Everything just running around here and there. You thought that your meditation is going haywire. But actually, you're still noting one. Very clearly, you are noting one. It's even more confusing sometimes at this stage that then a yogi goes through this part. Yeah. The mind is alert, the mind is clear. Not so much of thinking, not so much of sleepiness. The mind can note a lot of things, but a lot of things it's a lot of things until it's different from before that. The noting mind can just last there for a few notings and then it's already changed to another place. Sometimes it's running here and there, even sometimes in the walking or so, it may not stay with the primary object. Sometimes a lot of times it stays with the secondary object. It doesn't come down to the primary object. Sometimes even with the rising and falling, it doesn't stay with the rising and falling. It's just running around the body here and there. And you can do that for 1 hour. And it's okay. But that's where the yogis tend to you're not sure what you're going through because it is not systematic compared to in the past that we are noting. So a lot of very, very luan inside there. It's, sometimes you see a little bit of anicca, the next moment is already turned into anatta, another moment it turned into dukkha, and then another moment anicca again. It's all just mix up everything together. But nevertheless, you got to, as I said, many times you don't know what you are noting. You don't understand theoretically what you are noting. But what you do, you trust your noting mind. You trust your mindfulness to note, to bring you forward. It's just like, for example, you're driving in the road in a car at night, no street lamp and so on. There's only like 2 headlights in front there only. And you just, whatever you can see in front, you just drive. Yeah. You just drive, and you got to trust your everything. The car, your alertness, your eyes, and so on. You got to truly, and you just have to go. Things like that during in the vipassana, at times it will be like that. But the mind is still balanced in the sense that the mind is still balanced. It's quite clear. And but there will be times that when it comes to the next one, the 4A and number 3 they are very close to each other. That the mind begins to see more and more changes faster that arise and passes away. And this time there's be a lot of sometimes lights coming up, beautiful images coming up, very pleasant mental states coming up, or even I talked about this one a little bit in the past, in some of the talks in the past, that for example, bright lights coming up, you're going to attach to it, and you thought that this is your meditation object. So you get attached to it, and then you don't want to you forget about all your rising, falling, sitting, touching, mental object, physical object. You just inside there. You get attached to it. You get attached to not only that, only it's sometimes it comes with peace and calm and joy sometimes. During that time we talk about joy, we talk about the different types of joy. So one of the type of joy perhaps may come to the yogi. Sometimes it's a very pleasant, not the worldly type of excitement, but this one is a very purified type of mind. That the mind is purified, that type of joy, that type of sensation of the rapture arises in the body. Feel very good, very refreshing. No tiredness, no much of pain, no much of everything. It feels so good. It's nice to have actually. After all the pain, after all the difficulty, and this time is quite nice. And because of that, if a yogi is not doesn't have a proper knowledge or doesn't properly guided, then it can fall into one of these or two of these. And then after that, like the calmness, then the yogi thought that they are excellent meditator, wonderful meditator. They're better than all the rest. Then you see other yogis Bangkok here, bend there, move here. Then you look at me, I sit so straight, so nice. Ego come up, the I am. Then with that also, as I said many times, that if the yogi attached to it, then what does it turn to? It turns to wrong view. Wrong view that one believes that one becomes enlightened already or sotapanna already. Because of the calmness. And this type of calmness, due to concentration, due to joy, or due to even equanimity, later on I'll talk about it, they thought that this is something very special, that previously it's all pain, rising, falling, and thoughts only, but now everything is so calm and so peaceful. If nobody were to guide you, you believe that this becomes enlightenment already. So this is what we call the vipassana upakilesa. Vipassana upakilesa. Upakilesa, upa means near. Kilesa means defilement. So it's a very near defilement, but you don't see it very near. At this stage also, it's not only that calmness or joy or even the visions, of people or Buddha and all that, you get caught up into it. Not only just that, it also can be the upakilesa. Whether you, it can be your continuous mindfulness also. It can be your balanced effort also. It can be your equanimity also as a vipassana upakilesa also. if you're not careful. Yeah. Because at this time, what what happened is that the mind is quite balanced. The mind is quite balanced. You can able to walk and sit without much of difficulty, without much of tiredness and so on. And throughout the whole day, sometimes for a few days, you can able to walk and sit very well. Not much pain. The mind is clear. The mind is balanced. The thoughts doesn't catch out it so much. Sleepiness is very minimal, and yet you can walk very well. You can walk very well. You can sit very well. Walk, sit, no problem. Until 10 o'clock at night, you're still full of energy. Right now, you're already like half dead already. Be tahan already. But this at this stage, it's really balanced. The whole meditation, the whole noting mind is very balanced. But equanimity again is not that pronounced, but it's a very pleasant time of a yogi. It's quite a balanced state of a yogi this time. So what happened is that sometimes the yogi attach to their own this type of progress because right now is pleasant, ma. Yeah. Right now is pleasant. Because this type of pleasant is connected with the practice itself. They thought that the yogi is doing quite well. So after that, you see that you walk, you can walk very clearly. Then you look at others. I can walk so well. Yeah. You see the ego come up. Ego come up because of what? Because of your own mindfulness. Yeah. Mindfulness is wholesome, but it's your own perception. It's your own thinking that you think that you are better than others. You think you can able to meditate better than others. There's all this time, every now and then, I do notice that yogis are like that. After they thought that, oh, I meditate 20, 30 years already, lao jiao already, full of experience already, yeah. Look at me, how I walk, how I sit, sui. Yeah. And with that, sometimes with the experience inside there, and a lot of whatever they're noticing inside there, whatever that they're noticing inside there, they think that they are gone through a deep practice already. When they gone through, they think that they are near Nibbana already. Actually, still very far away. But they think that near Nibbana. So this time, the whole mind is really in balance. There's not much thinking, not much this thing, and yet the ego can still come in. Yeah. So the equanimity, the continuous mindfulness, the balanced type of effort while it's inside there, and also not only balanced effort, there's another thing, is that the mind is very thorough, very sharp. It's very sharp, very thorough. But while you're noting it, actually the upakilesa is not there. It's the things that after that you stop for a while, let's say, while daily activities, you look at other people, then your ego come up because you can meditate, because your mindfulness is continuous, because that time your mind is in a very balanced state of mind. In that time, if you're not careful, ego comes up. And then when the ego comes up, sometimes you attach to the whole mental process or physical process that's going through inside there. Because whatever is happening, you want that type of object to happen again and again. In other words, you crave for the experience. You don't really want to you want to further progress, but you just want that experience for now, You crave for it now. So if you do not know how to let go, you get caught into it, and slowly that craving will turn into desire and get stronger, and then after that, all the object gone, and then you just sit there. So nice. So you see, even our wholesome state of mind, even that balanced type of effort there, if you're not careful, it can turn and just for enough for the ego to come in, for that craving to come in. So, in other words, when you pay attention to it, just noting, just pay attention to whatever that is going on. Even the pleasantness that comes in, this mind state is in a very balanced level. Just keep noting. Just sometimes some of us may have some ego arises, but here again, we just take note of that type of ego, that I am that arises. Don't be afraid that it will not arise. It will arise because all of us have that ego personality there. We want to compare with other yogis. We want to compare with other people. That is the nature of ego. Sometimes we compare higher, sometimes we compare the same, sometimes we compare lower. That I'm less than you, you're better than me, or I'm the same as you. So this type of thoughts do come in. But the thing is that don't fall into their trap. Don't fall into their trap, because you fall into the trap, you get caught into due to all the wholesomeness, the wholesome mental state that you are coming. So at this stage of the third stage, the 4A there, that is where we call the tender insight, the tender knowledge of arising and passing away. Tender, not mature yet. When you don't get attached to all these type of things, then a lot of arising and passing away that you are noticing during this time, then it flow into the 4B, which is the mature stage of arising and passing away. All this time, when the mature stage of arising and passing away, this is where the true anicca begins. The deep anicca begins, where you see only characteristics of arising and passing away. That's why it's called purification by knowledge and vision of the way. The fifth one, knowledge and vision of path and not path. What is path and what is not path? Again, the path is your meditation object. What is not path is what you attach to. Like just now, the lights lah, the joy lah, the attachment to our development, our equanimity, or our mindfulness and all that thing. You get attached to those things. The craving is there. That is not path. So in other words, you don't crave for those things. Whatever that comes in, you just pay attention to it. Then that is path. You see, the path and not path is it's a figurative speaking, but inside it's a less than a hairline, Therefore, it really needs your mindfulness and your clarity and the sharpness of your mind in order to differentiate which one you're supposed to note and which one you're not supposed to attach to. Because here inside, what is not path can be wholesome things also, that you get attached to it. What more that talking about the lights, or the calmness, or the joy. If you note them, if you note these type of things, even the lights come up, or the joy come up, or the calmness come, you note those things, then it becomes the path, If you note them, if you don't note them, you can enjoy them, then it's not path already. You see what I mean? Just the craving is there only. Either there's craving or no craving only inside there. So it's a very thin line inside. Say it's easy, but all yogis, one time or another, you will enjoy one. You will enjoy one way or another. Your pride is going to come up. Your ego is going to come up one way or another. But as long as you keep noting and noting and noting on your progress, and on your objects of your meditation, then it goes on to the right path, on the right development. So once you're able to take note of this thing, and therefore it becomes knowledge and vision of the way, of the path. That means you know where to jalan already, you know how to move on already. You don't get attached to those type of things. That is where the true anicca, dukkha, anatta is going to arise as you meditate. Yeah? In the number 4 and number 5, this is where the process of anicca becomes much more prominent, uh, much more prominent to the yogi compared to dukkha and compared to anatta. Process of arising and passing away here, as the word is called, it arises and passes away, moment after moment. That's like anything that some talks or last week or the week before that, I mentioned that in our characteristic, let's say a wind element. A wind element, it has got 3 characteristics. First characteristic is its own characteristic, is intrinsic characteristic. That means it's a movement that you notice. The other characteristic of the wind element is the change, is the beginning, and there's a middle, and there's an end. The characteristic, there's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end. All right? The third characteristic of a wind element, it has the arising and passing away. The moment it arises, the moment it passes away. The second one is not momentary, and second one is that there is still a coming, there's still sustaining, and then after it disappears. So every object of this mind and body, it got these 3 characteristics. You talk about anger. Anger, it got its own characteristic, which is different from desire, which is different from mindfulness, let's say. Yeah? But then the second characteristic, then here, again, it has a beginning, a middle, and the end. A beginning, middle, and end of that part of the second characteristic. Then the third characteristic of anger, again, it has arising and passing away. Yeah? It has arising and passing away. So other words, when you go into this meditation, vipassana meditation, as you develop into like beginning at the number 4, you begin to look at the third characteristics already. So the first and second characteristic, you already cover it at the first insight, second insight, third insight, fourth insight. So the third, the characteristic of arising and passing away comes in much more deeper. And when it comes in this thing, into knowledge of arising and passing away. So at that time, because of your mind is so sharp and clear, every process, every phenomena of this mind and body, you notice them is just only the arising and passing away. They are very prominent right now. So in other words, you do not know, sometimes you do not know whether you're still noticing the body or the mind because of the third characteristic is there. The third characteristic of arising and passing away. Everything is just going to arising and passing away. Therefore, you see the true nature of anicca, the true perception of anicca. Out there, when we are not meditating and we think about anicca, impermanent and all that, that one is all thinking only. Thinking. No matter how much you think about it, you won't able to realize nibbana. Think next life also come back and future life will come back. You still won't able to decide. You are a much better person, yes, sir. Right view, yes. But the right view will not able to bring you out of this one. Whereas this thing, the perception of this arising and passing away is going to progress into further development that is finally is going to bring you out of this cycle of birth and rebirth or realization of nibbana. So it's a very different type of anicca compared to what we think outside there. So sometimes I use the word anicca. I got to explain these type of things because my anicca and your anicca are different one. So we have to qualify it clearly, when we use the word anicca for the inside, it's so much more deeper compared to what we think outside there. Uh, so here, it is where for number 4, number 5, this is where the anicca is become very clear. The knowledge of dissolution, that means here, I talk about it also in the Kanika Samadhi a little bit that time. And it says that you see momentariness of the concentration. Momentariness of the concentration. Every time the teacher say momentary concentration is still mong cha cha after so many talk. Yeah. But the momentary concentration, you will see it quite clearly in the knowledge of dissolution, because that time you see everything is arising and passing away. And when the mind is clear matured at the knowledge of dissolution, it sees the process of body, let's say, passing away. It sees the mind also passing away. That noting mind that notes the object also passing away. So both together are passing away. It arises and passes away together. Right? It arise and pass away, arise and pass away, arise and pass away together. So that time, you actually see the momentariness of everything, not just only concentration, but everything. Yeah? So that time, your mind, this time, the mind is quite, in a sense that it's quite balanced. This one, not too difficult yet for yogis. Not so much pain, not so much difficulty. But when it comes to 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, that is banyak susah. It's going to be difficult already, because that part is where the dukkha arises. The deep aspect of dukkha arises. Not your buttock pain, knee pain, head pain, a little bit tension here and there, and then you already come into inside there, you already start complaining to me, this, you think that is all your dukkha. Wait, you come this one first. But since you don't have time, you talk about it on Thursday. All right, we'll stop here for tonight. Share merits. Idang me bhavanang nippanasa pachayo hotu. May my mental cultivation be a condition for the realization of nibbana. Imang no punya bhagang sapa satanang dema. We share these merits with our departed ones, with all beings and all the devas. Sape satta sukhi hontu anumodantu. May all beings be happy. May they rejoice in these merits. Sadhu, 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 sadhu.